Space Invaders Forever! The Space Invaders series started in 1978 as an arcade game. You shoot aliens that will slowly descend upon you. Your only line of defense is a few bunkers that will block the fire of the invaders for a few turns. The more you kill, the faster they'll come, and if they make it to the ground, you lose. And that's about it. Like most arcade games, it had very repetitive gameplay. But at the time, it was a new concept and took the world by storm. Although, to be fair, in that time, any video game idea really was a new concept. Nowadays, it's just a quaint look back at past gameplay. But after a few minutes, that repetitive gameplay does get very tiring. This comes with 3 versions of the classic game, each having their own take on the series. One is definitely better than the others, and even that, though, had its own issues. Let's start with the one I enjoyed the most, Arkanoid vs. Space Invaders. I will admit that I'm a big fan of Arkanoid, so that probably made me like this more. And let me get this out of the way, yes, you have to play it in this perspective. Let me save your necks a little bit here and flip this. Now, this game cannot be played on the TV at all, which makes the fact you can boot it up and get to this screen even more bizarre. Normally a game that makes you use the touchscreen, or even in handheld mode, will just block you. But they didn't bother to do that. They just disabled the physical buttons. At this point, I'd like to thank Nintendo for adding in an easy transfer of videos in order to make this part of the review possible. You'll be tasked in each level to kill a certain number of aliens. They'll often be behind blocks that you can destroy. One of the things that I really liked was you really didn't have a ball you need to worry about. You're just reflecting the fire from the aliens, and you have a certain amount of time to kill them all. It was hectic, but fun. The touchscreen controls worked okay. You have to thrust up to shoot a beam upward, and it only worked occasionally. However, since you're going to be dealing with a lot of fire, it's not really that big of a deal. There is a power-up that gives you a ball that you're going to need to keep track of, but its only purpose is to do extra powerful hits. If you lose it, you just lose your advantage. It doesn't kill you. There are other characters that you can play with different advantages, like more power or time to do something. They're locked behind in-game coin pay walls. Now, this is obviously a mobile game port. You progress through the levels until you get to a boss, and then you move on to the next world. It has the same level progression as any mobile game, really, with the exception of the no waiting period in order to get into levels. Now, the next game is Space Invaders Extreme. It's an update to a game that came out in 2008, which was for the DS as well as a couple other platforms. There are 16 levels to play, which are broken down into having to kill a certain amount of a wave of aliens. You will travel on a very simple map screen, which depending on how you do, will either make it easier or harder. To no surprise of any of my viewers, I stayed on the easy track the whole time. I did just okay with this game. One of the problems I had with this was the repetitiveness. They show you how many waves you're going to have to do, and it gets tiring really fast. I kept going because I like the boss battles at the end of each of the levels. Most of the time they have different ways to make you kill the big bad alien, which I thought was really clever. After you beat the game, you'll unlock a bonus track, which gives you more levels, which were just basically the same thing again, only harder. While I loved all the colorful action and the different ways they tried to change up the gameplay, in the end it got very old quick. But that's nothing compared to the final game. And that was Space Invaders Gigamax 4 SE. It's just like the original Space Invaders game, only this time with multiplayer! Unlike the previous game, it's just dull from the very beginning. Sure, if you have friends to play this with, it might be more enjoyable. But I didn't have anyone who wanted to play this with me, so to me it was really dull. It makes me wonder why they didn't add an online component to this game. It's simple looking enough that I could see it working. Then it might be fun, but no. If you don't have someone wanting to play this with you, it's not going to keep your interest very long. Space Invaders Forever was okay at best. As a look back at history, it does a good job of bringing back the nostalgia that game had. However, that also brought back the repetitive gameplay and something you're not going to want to play for long. The best game on here is something you could get at the Apple Store for $5. They're actually asking $30 for all 3 games. And I'd say just skip it. Maybe if it came down to $10 one day, but I can't see that happening anytime soon. The repetitiveness of the gameplay will make you lose interest fast, so you should probably just skip this one.